so many things supposed to have seeds, but you never see seeds in them anymore. So pretty much at some point, all food is going to be man-made, which means that when you control the food, you control the people.
So I'm Simeon Pando.
Victoria Monet.
Tank.
I'm Melvin Gregg.
This is another episode of Nice and Neat.
I'm Duke.
I'm Omar. I'm Jalon.
Welcome back to another episode.
Yo, what's the deal, y'all? Hope all is well. Welcome back to another episode. I'm Duke.
I'm Omar. I'm Jalon.
And I'm Dr. Bobby Price.
Yes,
And this is another episode of the #1 podcast in all of Los Angeles. And we got another week where we bringing you an incredible guest. Incredible guest. Super, like, it's the value in this episode, because this is our Thanksgiving episode, right?
Man.
We all going to be consuming some sort of food today, and we all need to get some sort of education. We got certified plant-based nutritionists. People are nutritionists all the time, but a certified plant-based nutritionist, Dr. Bobby Price in the building. Also, before we get too late in this episode, I want you guys to go purchase his book, Vegucation Over Medication. I looked into it a little bit, and I think everybody needs that.
Big plug.
Everybody needs that. So go purchase that book. But we got Dr. Bobby
Let's
Price.
give it up for him.
Hey, let's give it up for Dr. Bobby Price, man.
Man,
Yo,
Glad to be
Bobby
here.
Price sounds like an athlete's name.
It sounds great, bro.
It sounds like a basketball.
It sounds like
right
an
off your
NBA
tongue,
professional
bro.
athlete.
Bobby Price.
That boy putting up numbers.
Bobby Price for
Bobby
three.
Price had 30.
Boy had a double last night, boy.
We ain't talking about in and out, you know? So, nah, man. Hey, you know what? We're gonna. I really want to. I want to give this episode to my brother Omar, because since your name was just even mentioned in an email, he was like, "Dog, I can't wait to talk to this guy."
got you.
I cannot wait to talk to this guy. And Omar is, when it comes to as far as understanding food,
Yeah.
this is our guy.
Okay, got you.
This is our guy. Omar, hit him with the fire, bro, because I know you're excited, though.
I am excited, but I guess before we even dive into it, I think we should give the people just a little background about you. Let's talk about that. You're a certified plant-based nutritionist. You're a doctor. You're a herbalist.
Yeah.
I want to get into all of that, because even there's even some controversy between Western medicine, Eastern medicine. So let's get into that, man. Where'd you get your start at?
Yeah, man. So I fell in love with chemistry as a kid because I grew up in like the worst part of town in the 80s and 90s.
Where at?
In Atlanta.
Okay.
And growing up in one of the worst areas in the projects, it was during the time where crack cocaine was everywhere, and it affected my family. And I had an uncle who was like cooking crack on the stove, and he turned a powder to a crystal, and it just made this go off in my brain. I'm like, damn, my uncle looked like a scientist. And so
The first doctor.
yeah, I go to school, and I got a chemistry teacher. I'm like, yo, how does this even work? And he explained it to me. And when he explained it to me, I fell in love with chemistry. And so I fell in love with chemistry there. And the idea of health came into place because I lost all of my grandparents by the time I was 16. And I lost my maternal grandmother when I was 15. And I was in love with her. And I remember the day she passed away. I came home from a basketball camp. She had come home for hospice. And hospice is where they send you home when it's nothing else they can do. Now, I didn't know she was this sick, but when I arrived and you see your grandmother this way, you know something's wrong. And so initially there's this prayer over get well and God, don't let my grandmother die. And then I realized grandmother is going, and currently she is suffering. And so I told my grandmother, you can leave, grandma. We don't want you to suffer anymore. About 2 or 3 minutes later, she passed away. And when that happened, there was something in me that said, I got to be the one. For my family, for my community. I started thinking about, my grandfather died of a heart attack. My paternal grandmother died of a stroke and diabetes. And I just saw it throughout my whole family. So that inspired me to go into health. And the initial idea was, I'm going to come up with all these magical drugs that are going to heal people. But I started working for the FDA, and I realized really quickly that's not going to happen. So then I started working in the hospital as a clinical pharmacist. And I realized that's not going to happen. And the thing that I realized that really hit home with me is I got diagnosed with high blood pressure when I was 16.
Wow.
And so I lived with high blood pressure until I was in my late 20s. Now, keep in mind, I told you guys I was an athlete. I only had like 7 to 10% body fat in high school. So I was fit, but I was unhealthy.
Yep.
And so I'm in the hospital in Atlanta, and everybody who see me in the hospital, they're like, all right, I want to talk to him because I'm the only black person with a white coat in there. And so now realizing I'm in a respectable position where people are looking to me for leadership. And so now I'm like, I got to figure this out because I'm seeing people my age coming there with heart attacks and strokes in their late 20s, early 30s. And so I'm realizing this is going to be me. And so I went on this journey, discovered a plant-based lifestyle, lost about 45 pounds, normalized my blood pressure, got rid of my sleep apnea, and it changed everything.
And you were able to do this all by just turning to a plant-based diet?
Yeah, which was crazy because you got to understand, I got 3 science degrees. And everything in science told me that wasn't possible because even when people would get diagnosed, they would always ask me how long I got to take this. And I'll be like, you got to take this for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
So being a scientist, you believe in the research. What made you go against the research?
Truth, because I was always seeking the truth.
Come on.
It didn't matter how I got there, but I was seeking the truth. So every time I got to a point where it was like, well, that's not healing nobody.
Wow.
It wasn't truth. So I had to go in another direction. And so when the truth came to me right in front of my face, I never argued with it because I was like, that's what I was looking for the whole time.
But who guided you in that process? Because a plant-based diet doesn't just fall in your lap. So,
Yeah, 100%. Because
how's
my mom is the cook in the family.
Mm-hmm.
Like, as a matter of fact, growing up, I remember my mom would cook on the weekends, and people would come over and get plates for the leftovers, like pay for them.
Wow.
So my mom was that kind of cook, and she cooked everything. Now, I'll say I stopped eating pork maybe in the 6th grade. I saw Malcolm X. But everything else was on the table.
She was an advanced kid.
Seriously.
He was saying, I'm in 6th grade. I'm
6th grade is crazy. I mean everything.
So
Double
I'm
bacon,
gonna ask
fine.
you,
Bacon up.
right? Is hypertension hereditary, or is it hereditary to what our family eats?
Okay, so what I always tell people, because again, you got to remember, I got diagnosed when I was 16.
What is hypertension? I don't know.
So the best way to explain it is high blood pressure.
Okay.
Okay, and what that is the best way I explain that to my audience is that it is a dis-ease. A dis-ease is to remove, ease, peace.
Okay.
A removal of peace from the body.
Okay.
Hypertension is a lot of tension in the body.
Okay.
Okay? That tension is coming due to pressure. Pressure specifically in the arteries and the blood vessels. Okay? That could come due to plaque. That can come due to a thickness of the blood. That can come due to a blockage. A lot of different things. Okay? Stress even. So it doesn't matter where it comes from, but it primarily comes from our diet. Okay? And when you think about hypertension, Black people in America have the highest statistics of any people in the world. Okay? And that's
In America.
in America. African Americans have the highest and the worst blood pressures in the world. We also have the worst diet in the world. When you look at our diet, that soul food diet that we're going to talk about in a second, that is a prescription for death. Okay? And that's what I grew up on. That's why I lost all my grandparents. One of the things I didn't tell you, I lost all of my grandparents, but I had a great-grandmother who lived to 105.
What was her eating like?
She walked into my grandmother's funeral, who was 67.
Oh.
She grew up on a farm, lived on a farm. She ate what she grew. It was a very different lifestyle.
Your grandma passed away at 67.
Yeah, her.
And the average life expectancy for a woman in America is like 78, 80.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
So it's important to know, like, you know, my grandmother had 11 kids, and when we transitioned from the 60s and 70s, what happened was we industrialized our food after World War II. That's where you got a lot of soldiers who would take home the MREs. That was the first processed food because they created that food for soldiers to be able to get food on the battlefield.
So that's when we first got introduced to processing.
That's the first introduction to it. They hired scientists to figure out how do we create food for the soldiers that doesn't go bad. Because in World War One, most of the soldiers died not due to
Starvation.
warfare; they died due to starvation and malnutrition.
Yeah.
So even as a scientist, you know that it's not nutritious, but you know it's going to help keep the soldier alive, so they create it.
Well, that was never the goal to be necessarily nutritious.
It's not to be nutritious, it's
It's
to
to
keep.
create food.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, that
Okay.
World War II, that's also when the companies that built America were built.
Established.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Hershey's, McDonald's, all the preservative.
Yeah, well,
KFC.
a lot of the
Yeah.
technology came out of World War II that was created. Because you got to remember, World War II was against refrigerators, microwaves.
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay.
Yep.
A lot of the technology that was created during the military, for the military during World War II, was then given to the public or given to these new companies, and then it was implemented, and then our food got industrialized. So my grandmother having 11 kids, trying to figure out how do you feed 11 kids, and now you switch from a natural oil to now you're using Crisco. You see what I'm saying? Most people had a garden in their yards, and you go back to the 40s and the 50s. Now you're not going to your garden to get your food. Now you're going to a supermarket. Supermarkets didn't exist prior to the 50s. Most people didn't have refrigerators in their homes prior to the 50s.
Word.
So you got to understand, now we're going from this fresh food society to now food products. You understand? And if you make food products, you have to use preservatives. You have to use food chemicals because they won't last long on the
If you
shelf.
want it to have shelf life.
If you wanted, that's the whole. See, when a company creates food, they're not creating food for the purposes of putting it on the shelf for 7 days and then they're going bad. Because now the store owners aren't going to buy it.
Yep.
But if I can put food on your shelf that could last for a year, they'll stock up on that.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? So we went from food to food products. You see what I'm saying? And that was the shift.
At 16, were you able to make the connection that, yo, I'm healthy, I'm active, I'm an athlete, and I got high blood pressure?
Yeah.
It's got to be because of the food. Or did this realization come later on in life?
No, I said it was because I had bad genes because I lost all my grandparents. I'm like, and diabetes, hypertension is riddled through my family. So I'm like, I got bad genes. But here's the thing about genes that we now know, because we unraveled the human DNA in 2006. 95% of diseases are nutritional. Only 5% are gene-based.
95% of diseases are nutritional.
Nutritional and lifestyle. So only 5% are actually based on your genetics. Those are the rarest diseases. It's not hypertension. It's not diabetes. It's not even most of the cancers. It's not breast cancer, prostate cancer, colorectal cancer, none of the cancers that you would think of.
Okay, so let's get into it. Because you said 95% of diseases come from nutrition, right?
And lifestyle.
And lifestyle. In the World Health Organization, it says that if you eat meat, it will cause cancer.
Yeah.
Right.
So all processed meat, which most meat is processed, because it has to be. You got to think, if you slice something up or kill something, there's no way possible for it to last the length of time that it lasts. I mean, if you run a dog over out there and come back 2 days later, it's going to smell, look, and have things coming out of it. That's what flesh does. It's supposed to do that. It goes into rigor mortis, and then all of a sudden it starts to break down. Okay? So how is it that meat can be in this grocery store for weeks and days? Because most of the meat you're eating, I mean, it literally takes, it's in there in the process for months. They didn't just slice the animal open and then brought it over to the supermarket.
Months.
And you know, sometimes when you go in there, you'll see the meat, it'll look sort of gray and brown.
Yes.
That's the meat that the dye has ran out of it. Because they spray it, that you have to spray it with dye. You got to think, anything that dyes is going to change colors. It can't keep its color because the color is coming from the blood.
And the dye is like the processing part. A lot of like
It's a spray.
Yeah.
Bro, so we know this information. What do you think makes it so hard for us to make the transition or switch from eating these type of things? If we know this, 95% of diseases are coming from nutrition and lifestyle. We know that processed meats are causing cancer. What is so hard for us to understand? The information is available.
What is it? The stuff is not accessible though, like that, is it? And it's not affordable.
But
either.
what's not affordable and what's not accessible? Because fruit and veggies,
unprocessed meats.
Well,
Right.
well, as I was saying before, all of those processed meat, and if you go to the IARC, which is the governing body that determines what is and what isn't cancerous or carcinogenic, processed meats are a level 1 carcinogen, the same category as cigarettes, plutonium, etc. Okay, all processed meat. That's deli meat that you make sandwiches with. That's turkey bacon, that's sausages. That's turkey, whatever is processed meat. It's a level 1 carcinogen. But the reason why we have a disconnect between the two is because we're being constantly told that it's our genetics. That's why I believed it. We believe that we're sick because we got bad genes. Right. And we believe that the only solution there is a drug. Because if you look at commercials, just start checking out commercials. I would say 70% of commercials are either fast food or drug commercials. Mm-hmm. So if you're constantly getting that television programming that is telling you in between whatever programming you're watching, take this drug for this, it heals this, and then of course you hear that long list of side effects. Yeah, that is like 70% of the commercial.
Like normalized.
Why do you think people are so easy to make a purchase on a product like that has all those lists of side effects right at the end of it, but aren't as open to maybe healing themselves naturally in a more holistic way with a herb or maybe a tonic or something like that?
Yeah, because we've been taught there's a pill for every ill.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that's what, like, if you get a headache, you think the solution to it is Excedrin. You think but you don't have an Excedrin deficiency. That's not the cause.
Right. Yep.
So you're not addressing the cause, but what it does do is get rid of the symptoms. But it never addresses the cause. You don't know if this is quite possibly the reason why 20 years later you end up with dementia, because you were constantly masking these symptoms with Excedrin. Wow. You see what I'm saying? So like we've been taught that. And so when we think about healing, we don't think about it in the sense of addressing the cause. We think about it from the sense of addressing the symptoms.
And then in 20 years, when we get diagnosed with dementia, they don't never equate it to.
That was a check engine light. The headache, the migraines were a check engine light.
So when the dementia comes, it's like, yo, we don't know where this came from.
Yeah. Same thing when you get cancer and you say, where did this come from? They say, well, we don't really know where cancers come from. But I just told you, if you go to the governing body that determines what is and isn't cancerous, they tell you cigarettes cause cancer. Mm-hmm. They tell you processed meats cause cancer. And there's a much longer list of things that are in your household products, that are in your cosmetic products, that are in your hygienic products. There's a long list of things that are carcinogenic.
So you don't believe in medicine at all?
I wouldn't say that. What I would say is if I walk out on Hollywood Boulevard and I get hit by a car, take me to the hospital.
Straight up. Straight up.
Yeah.
Straight up.
But in the sense of maintaining my health and actually trying to heal, no. Because modern medications are just simply designed to manipulate your biochemistry. And anybody who is a healthcare professional knows that is true. If you understand pharmacokinetics, you know that is true. All it does is manipulate your biochemistry. So if you have high blood pressure, maybe I tap into your angiotensin receptor. Maybe I use a calcium channel blocker. Doesn't matter what I use, but that manipulates your biochemistry to lower your blood pressure. It's only addressing the check engine light. It's not addressing the actual issue. And we know this to be true because most people who have a heart attack or stroke, they're on medication when they have the heart attack or stroke. So we know that what's happening is, your blood pressure may look or appear to be lower, but the damage is still occurring because you still have the heart attack or stroke.
Yeah, so talk to us about, what's your diet like?
My diet?
Yeah.
So I typically don't eat until around about 1. I like to do intermittent fasting. I usually stop somewhere
every
around.
day.
Yeah. I usually stop somewhere around 7 p.m. typically. So that's when I don't eat. That's my not eating window. And then the first thing I eat is usually fruit. So like coming here to LA, you guys know, I don't know if you know, I own a tropical fruit farm.
Fruit box.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so I eat tropical fruit in the morning. That's the first thing I break my fast with because I've been fasting for 16, 17 hours. So I break my fast with a food that is the most easily digestible food there is, which is fruit. That's the most easy thing to digest. Most people, when they eat fruit, they have no problem with fruit. You try to eat steak and potatoes, you got problems. So that's the first thing that I break my fast with. Or I'll do like a smoothie, I'll do a green juice. And then I have my lunch. My lunch could be a number of things. I mean, it could be some kind of quinoa bowl. It could be, a wrap, like a kale wrap. It could be a large number of things.
Right. So is intermittent fasting is that a variation of detoxing?
No, intermittent fasting is just a window where you don't eat.
Okay.
And I talk about that in my book, Vegucation over Medication, the importance of having digestive rest. We eat like cows. Cows graze throughout the day. There's not a period where they're not eating grass.
But they also have 5 stomachs.
Yeah, they got 5, 6 stomachs.
We have 1.
We got 1. So we're not supposed to be eating, waking up in the morning, having breakfast, then having a snack, then having lunch, and then having a snack between that, and then having dinner, and then finally going to sleep and waking up and repeating the process. That's grazing. So this is why we never have any rest. And what most people don't know about digestion is this. It takes up the large majority of most of your energy. That's why when you overeat,
Digesting.
when you overeat,
You slumped.
you get the itis.
And that's why when you eat before you go to sleep, you don't have good rest.
You don't have
Because your
good
body's
rest.
working so hard trying to digest and process
While
that
you're
food.
sleeping. Because when you wake up, what do you got to do? You got to go to the bathroom.
Yep.
Your body been working while you've been sleeping.
Yep.
You see what I'm saying? Yeah. But if you finish your meal, let's say 3 to 4 hours before you go to bed, you may have a bowel movement or urinate before you go to bed. Now you're going to have restful sleep. Make sense?
Okay.
Yeah.
So you don't eat. So no chicken.
No, I don't eat any animal products.
Okay. So
for the last 13 years.
So what would you say to someone who says, "Yo, is there a such thing as too healthy?
Too healthy.
I'm trying to
What does that
live
mean?
too healthy."
Nah.
Right? Is there a such thing? Is there a such thing as trying to live too perfect in terms of your nutrition, right? Because I feel like everyone can dissect everyone's nutrition and find things to say that kind of point out to that's unhealthy. You understand what I'm saying? So someone can say, okay, well, you lack the protein to gain muscle.
Yeah, for sure.
Like how do you navigate those conversations?
Well, I always tell people, we have this perception. Again, I write about that in the book because I always get that question. We have this perception around protein that it is the first and most important thing that we need. Mm-hmm. But when you think about what animals do most people eat? Cows, pigs, chicken. All right. And we say we need to eat that because why?
We need protein.
We need protein. All right. Do any of those animals eat meat?
Nope.
No, none of them eat meat. Horse, strong animal. Rhino, strong animal. Gorilla, strong animal. Elephant, strong animal. I can go on and on. None of them eat meat. They're the strongest animals in the world. So why is it that humans are the only species of animals on the planet that need to eat meat to get protein? Mm-hmm. It doesn't make sense at all. It's bad science. It's outdated science. Mm-hmm. So that's essentially how I explain to people, if you want to eat meat, cool, do your thing. Yeah. I'm just saying you don't need to. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's not necessary because you get protein from your food. And as much as people would like to think, well, you're not going to get enough, well, just go look at a lot of these men in prison. They're some of the most jacked dudes in the world.
Yep.
They don't get no protein shakes and extra meat. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they some of the biggest and strongest men in the world.
Yep.
So I'm just saying, there's a whole perception around, bodybuilding and nutrition and the food industry that you need massive amounts of protein. I'm just saying, you really don't.
I want to go back to that processed meat and that dye you was talking about. Because you said, when it sits there, it's obviously processed, it sits there, and then if it sits there long enough, the dye comes out.
Yeah.
And people still eat that stuff. And it's got to be processed through our digestive system.
Yeah.
How long will something like that take to actually move through our body? How long could it possibly sit in our body? Because a lot of people will talk about, man, I feel really bloated, especially after eating things like red meat.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So how long does it take for red meat to actually truly process and digest in the body?
I mean, it actually depends on what you eat it with. Because again, if you eat protein with a starch, it could take up to 24 hours to digest. Sometimes it could just sit there. because that's the protein. A starch turns into like a glue inside of our body. So when you eat potatoes with no veggies around it, like green leafy vegetables, it turns into like a glue. And then you got a protein like a meat, let's say steak. It has no fiber in it, has no water content in it. To have a bowel movement, you have to have fiber and you have to have water. There's no fiber in any animal products. So if you're going to eat meat, you have to eat it with green leafy vegetables. You got to eat it with vegetables because it has fiber and it has water content. That's why when you take vegetables and fruits and you put them in a juicer, you get juice out.
Yep.
That's water content.
So if you eat meat, let's say I was someone that eat meat. I don't eat meat. But let's say I was someone that was eating meat, right? Yeah. And I take up something like you said, I'm eating tropical fruits in the morning because that's something I do as well, right? Yeah. Do you think that the tropical fruits with the high water content will help move the meat throughout my body and allow me to digest in the morning? Like, is that a good counterbalance for someone?
What I always tell people, because I really can't tell people how much meat to eat. And the reason why is because, again, like I don't judge anybody for what they eat. That's your business. I only educate people. But what I want people to understand is this. Most of the meat you're eating is not healthy meat. Even when they say it's grass-fed and blah, 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 most of the time it's not.
Not even Wagyu.
I got you.
What about halal?
Yeah.
I got you.
It's really important to know that.
Wow.
Right.
Yeah. And then the other thing that's really important is that everybody's body is different. Nobody is the same. And what I mean by that is this. You got people who have really good digestive system. You got other people who have really poor digestive systems. You have people who process sugars really well, and you got people who don't. So it all actually depends on what you're eating it with, okay? But if you're going to eat meat, I highly recommend you don't eat it with any other refined carbohydrates. You need to definitely eat it with a lot of green leafy vegetables.
So I feel like this conversation is like this is a really big conversation in switching generational norms for people.
Yeah.
I feel like obviously you're heavily invested in this space. Omar, you heavily invested. Duke, you dabble. And for me, I want to get more information for our audience who might just be listening. How can they adopt a plant-based diet? How can they just get their feet wet and be getting started in that space? Because with Thanksgiving here, you know, you have
beans.
First and foremost, we're gonna start with the ham, right? That's the biggest hog that we got. We're gonna start with the ham. You know, then you got all of the other foods that if your auntie don't got a little meat hanging over her elbow, you're not gonna eat it, right? So like, how do we start with just getting our feet wet in a plant-based diet? Because I feel like going to the store or being on Postmates looking for a meal, it's kind of hard to get those things that we're talking about.
Yeah, for sure. You know, what I always tell people is like, first start with a why, because, you know, what I find with people is like, they're so resistant to it because they don't have a why as to why they should do it. And that resistance is what keep people away from the idea of, I need to do this for my health, or I need to do this to break certain health generational curses that are in my family. And I think when we start to think in that sense, then we start to plan differently around our social gatherings. Because especially in our community, everything is centered around what we're eating and
what
food.
we're drinking.
You see what I'm saying?
Alcohol, yeah.
Yeah, it's centered around that. Now we start to, the first step I would say is to add before you start subtracting. And what I mean by that is start adding some healthy foods in there. Start adding some replacements. So instead of having coleslaw, can we get a mixed salad in there? You see what I'm saying? It's coleslaw, but now you done slopped it up with a whole bunch of mayo and sugar and a whole bunch of other things. Can we get a replacement in there? Instead of having a whole bunch of, you know, sweet teas and lemonades and things of that nature, can we get some coconut water in there?
Why coconut water?
Well, coconut water is naturally sweetened. It already has minerals and electrolytes in it. It has healthy fats in it already. It actually hydrates you as opposed to drinking something like a sweet beverage that actually dehydrates you and raises your blood sugar and actually adds to your obesity. And in our community, 75% of people are either overweight or obese. So it's important that we stop drinking our calories. You understand? So if we switch to like a coconut water, now we're drinking something naturally. And it's actually hydrating us. So that's what I always say is, you know, like, you're not going to be able to convert everybody and say, hey, we're going to have a vegan Thanksgiving this year. That ain't happening. But what you can do is everybody got to have some of this salad.
Yeah.
absolutely no sweetened beverages at all. Okay, let's take the meat down a level.
Yep.
Let's get rid of all of these sweet pies that we know we got diabetes in our family. And it only takes one person to say, like, we got to do better. And people believe that person, and that person is a leader in the family, and people say, all right, that's what we're doing.
So for Thanksgiving, let's eliminate the turkey. Let's eliminate the ham. Let's eliminate the roast beef.
I mean, that's a lot. That's a lot for someone who hasn't.
Right.
That's a lot. So taking maybe one of those away.
But I'm just
You know what I
curious.
mean?
I'm curious. What will be a good substitute if somebody's like, yo, I want to dive head first in. Like,
yeah.
we want to eliminate all those meats. What's a good substitute?
So what happened with, like, my family, so typically on the family gathering, we had like 60 people in the house. Bro.
Wow.
Yeah, I got a really big
It's actually
family.
beautiful though.
And
I
again,
was having Thanksgivings outside.
That's
and
tight.
my mom is like the cook in our family too. So she cooks primarily everything. Okay, so that's the kind of food I grew up, which is why I had hypertension. Okay, and so what I always tell people is like, okay, I have created some recipes. All right, so I made a whole cookbook, and it's really for my family. And that cookbook has a lot of
it's
these.
made with love.
They have all the recipes. Like, all right, you want chicken? All right, I have a mushroom chicken. It tastes just like that. Use oyster mushrooms and lion's mane.
Oh, see, it's a bunch of non-believers.
Come on,
Dr.
now.
Bobby, it's a bunch of non-believers.
Hey,
Hey,
bro.
bro.
Hey,
Bro.
bro.
Hey, they don't believe. They don't believe, dog. They don't
Hold
believe,
on,
dog.
hold on,
They
hold
don't
on.
believe it.
Because this would get me.
What's up?
Because he said it tastes just like it. That's what he said. It tastes just like it.
Yeah.
Don't nothing taste just like nothing.
Yo, but can I say this? Can I? And I'm gonna challenge you.
Come on.
People be eating alligator and
they don't know
eating rabbit, and you know what they say it tastes like?
Chicken.
Chicken. Why can't other things taste like chicken?
I don't believe
When
that
it's
either.
not chicken.
I don't believe that stuff. Like
Huh?
I'm saying, I don't believe that stuff either. Chicken tastes like chicken.
No.
Some people
Does all
say
chicken taste like chicken? Do the chicken nuggets at McDonald's taste like chicken?
Them taste
yes,
like nuggets.
they taste like chicken nuggets.
And again, like this, I'm glad you brought that up because this is the
It's
dialogue
the conversation you have,
that
right? And
I
I'm
have
sure you
with
got a
my
lot of
family.
arguments with people and stuff like
And
that.
so I say, just taste it.
Yeah.
Just taste it.
Just
Just
taste
taste
it,
it.
bro.
Just
Like,
taste it.
Dr.
you
Bobby
just
don't do too much
You gonna
arguing.
sit here with
Just
me
taste
for
it.
45
Yeah.
minutes
Arguing.
while it's getting cold.
And loosen its crispiness. Hey,
Look-
grab
Hey,
in one
hey,
of those.
taste it.
Taste it.
This shit kind of good.
Exactly. They tasted it. They're like, damn, the lion's mane actually tastes like steak.
Yeah.
They taste the oyster mushrooms. They're like, oh, this is
What tastes
it
like
ain't
steak?
chicken.
The lion's mane.
Lion's
Yeah,
mane. It's
yeah.
the big. It look like a white flower.
That's a mushroom?
Yeah.
It's a flower?
And they're like, all right, the oyster mushroom, no, it don't taste like chicken, but it's good.
Yeah. Some
And-
people. Go ahead.
And so I just think it's important for us to start to explore other options.
Yeah.
So that we're not, you got to understand, have you heard like they got lab grown meat now?
Yeah.
That's not new. You think it's new. You think this is something that's in the pipeline. Trust me, if you eat meat, you've already been eating lab grown meat. And I don't eat that like vegan meat either.
Man, I just-
Yeah. Just
like
for,
all the Impossible and all that kind of stuff. I don't eat
just
that
what's
either.
Is that just as bad as eating meat?
It's horrible.
what?
Because when you
Eat
look
like
at the
the
ingredients,
Beyond Meat, the
Okay.
the
yeah,
Impossible
when you
meat.
look at the ingredients, look at the ingredients. It look like a chemical soup.
Yup.
Yeah.
The first ingredient is like water, and then it's canola oil. And canola oil is one of the worst oils you can have.
So just to clarify, because you're not saying that meat just is bad. You're just saying that most of the meat that we consume is processed, which is bad for us. So like because I'm from Nigeria, right?
Gotcha.
And I've seen my family like kill a cow right in front of me, or kill a goat or chicken right in front of me, take it upstairs, pick it, boil it, and we eat that.
Right.
Right. So in situations like that, what's your outlook on that type
Yeah.
of thing?
So I want you to think about it. You have you been back to Nigeria? Okay, so when you go to Nigeria, they got the same health issues we got right here. There's no different. High blood pressure, diabetes, it's the same. Okay, and what do you Nigerians eat? Most of my best friends are Nigerian. I know. And what do they eat a lot of?
Rice.
A whole bunch of rice, a whole bunch of meat.
Meat, yep.
You see what I'm saying? You go to the Maasai tribe, that's in Kenya and Tanzania. You know what they primarily eat? The Maasai warriors? Milk and meat. You know their age life expectancy?
68.
Like 45.
Oh, wow.
You know what they typically die of? Parasites.
Oh no.
Okay, so you gotta understand. I'm not trying to
Right.
like. I'm not here to tell people what to do. I'm just here to educate
So
people.
talk to me about the blue zones.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
What do they
Okay.
like that?
What do they do different?
You gotta just jump through. Okay.
Oh, man. You know what I'm saying?
Heroes. Talk about the blue zones.
He just jealous. Nah, but talking about the blue zone, like what the people on is it a specific part of Asia? Is it Japan? I'm not sure exactly what the area is, but
there's
what do they eat?
There's 5 blue zones around the world. You have Costa Rica. You have Sardinia in Italy. Okay, you have one in Greece, Icaria. You also have another one in Japan, and then the last one is Loma Linda, California. I know that's throws
Loma Linda,
everybody
yes.
off.
Yep.
Loma Linda or Yorba Linda?
Loma Linda.
Loma Linda.
Oh man, that's my heart hospital.
What,
That's a good
Loma
heart
Linda is
institute.
not like ranch farmland. A lot of
No, the reason why is because a huge number of 7-day Adventists live there, and 7-day Adventists are known to be plant-based. Are you aware of that?
Game.
Yeah.
Okay.
So most 7-day Adventists don't eat meat.
I'm sorry. What is a 7-day Adventist?
It's just a denomination of Christianity.
Okay.
Yeah. So so that's why they're one of the blue zones.
I got you.
And the blue zones share a lot of different characteristics. I lived in Okinawa, Japan, one of those blue zones for 4.5 years.
Wow.
And got to see these people in the village. And Okinawa, Japan for decades was the #1 blue zone in terms of having the largest number of centenarians, people who live to 100.
I know our audience is listening and wondering what the hell a blue zone is, because I know I am.
Yeah.
I'm picking up what you're putting down.
Yeah.
But what's a blue zone?
It's just simply a region or area, the 5 that I just named, that people live to 100. They have the largest number of centenarians, people who live to 100. They primarily eat plant-based, and they share other different philosophies as well too, like
Community,
movement, certain eating practices. Without being connected or knowing each other, they just share these characteristics. So Okinawa, Japan was one of those. So that's why I chose to move there. And as I'm living there for 4.5 years, going to this village and being able to see how they live on a daily basis, what they eat, seeing people who are 97, 102, climb trees, walk up hills, garden, etc. That's
beautiful.
What I noticed was their lifestyle was just like my great-grandmother who lived to 105, okay? As opposed to my grandmother who lived to 67 and died at 67, okay? My great-grandmother, they had an outhouse. You had to go outside to use the bathroom. No electricity, okay? No electricity means what? No refrigerator.
Everything fresh.
Everything fresh. Out of the backyard, the side yard, the front yard.
Farm table.
When we got sick or something like that, guess what they did? Went to the backyard, the side yard, the front yard, gave you a remedy. So my great-grandmother lived just like the people in Okinawa, Japan. You see what I'm saying?
Yep.
Barely ate any meat because you can't chop a chicken up every day. And even if you did, where you going to put the rest of it? There's no refrigerator. You see what I'm saying? So primarily Monday through Saturday, my great-grandmother ate mostly plants. She was plant-based. On Sunday, that was the day she probably ate meat when the pastor came over from church and they had a big feast. And that was the lifestyle of most people, because back in the day, you had to go to a butcher to get meat. You didn't go to there was no supermarkets. You see what I'm saying? Meat was expensive. It was the most expensive thing that you could buy. Yeah. And so living in this blue zone for 4.5 years, it just showed me like, okay, that's what I miss. I was supposed to be living like my great-grandmother, okay? But I was living the lifestyle of my grandmother, which is why I got diagnosed with high blood pressure at the age of 16. And so, that is what the blue zone is about.
You said we're all different.
Yeah.
But is there a certain way, even though we're all different, is there a certain way that our people should be eating? You know what I mean? Is there a specific diet? And I know, again, everyone is different. Everyone's body, digestive system, all that stuff is different.
Yeah.
But generally speaking, is there a specific diet that our people should stick to?
The foundation of what you should be eating is fruits, vegetables, nuts, and seeds. That's the foundation of what you
Vegetables, nuts,
should be.
and seeds.
You get everything you need from that. I give you, you know, the only few things that they say that you get from meat that they say you don't get from plants. They say you don't get protein. You do, unless I'm like Magic, because I have not eaten meat in 13 years, and I'm 6'2" and I'm 220 pounds. So you can get your protein from plants. All right. They also say you don't get vitamin B12. Well, guess what? That's not true either. Vitamin B12 actually comes from a bacteria in the soil. It doesn't come from the actual animal. The animal eats the grass and gets that bacteria from the soil that's in the grass, and then we eat the animal and we get the secondary vitamin B12. You see what I'm saying? But you can get vitamin B12. And most of the patients that I would see come into the clinic to get a prescription for vitamin B12, most of them ate meat. I'm just keeping it real. Most of them, most meat eaters have that deficiency too. And so those are the two primary things, and then some other B vitamins. But again, I think it's really important to know and understand if you don't have those deficiencies, then you don't have any problems. If you have those deficiencies, you can use supplements. But the foundation of what you should be eating, you have to have fiber in your diet. And the only place you can get fiber is from plants. You have to have
There's no fiber in fruits?
Well, that's plants.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying?
Yep.
So fruits, vegetables, nuts, and seeds, that's where fiber comes from. You have to have fiber. Fiber feeds the good bacteria in your gut, which is responsible for 80% of your immunity. So if you don't eat fiber, you don't feed that bacteria, it doesn't produce immunity for you. You see what I'm saying? That's why if you're on something like a carnivore diet, down the line, you're going to be inflamed, one, but you're probably going to end up with some autoimmune issues down the line as well too.
Let's go there. Would you say that if you eat meat, or would you say that they are injecting hormones into the meat?
Nah, I don't have to say it. It just is.
It is what it is.
Yeah. So, you know,
I don't gotta say shit.
no, what I'm just saying, like,
It just look like me, dog.
just think about how big these animals are now.
Yep.
You know, like I remember being a kid having my first buffalo wing. It was like this.
Yep.
Now they're like this.
Yep.
Yeah, them wings okay going crazy.
You know what I'm saying? So our recombinant bovine growth hormone, they put that in cows. And when you eat the cow, you eat the hormones. You eat everything that cow eats.
So
This is why so many people have hormonal issues too, because now you're not only eating the hormones that were injected into the cow, you're also eating the natural hormones from that cow too. Okay. So if you have hormonal issues, it could be because of that too.
So if I'm a guy who's in my mid-20s, I'm active, I'm in my prime, I'm hitting the iron, I'm feeling good, but man, last night it just wouldn't get up with Shorty.
Yeah.
Right? And then, man, that shit actually happened to me a month ago too.
Yeah.
I was telling you, bro, I was ready. Right? Could that be an effect from the hormones that is injected in the meat if I'm eating meat?
It could be in the hormones that are injected in there, but it also can be, most of the animals today are fed like soy and corn.
Full estrogen?
Well, the soy and corn is just cheap feed. You know, it's cheaper to feed them this. So, you know, a cow is supposed to eat grass. Okay, but it's cheaper.
To feed them corn.
You don't see cows out grazing anymore. That's why when you see the milk cartons, they'll have a cow like on a pasture, but you never see that anymore because they're in these livestock farms. Okay, they're locked up inside of places. And so as a result, they're feeding them now instead of allowing them to just eat grass. And they're feeding them genetically modified corn and soy is going to be sprayed with pesticides, herbicides, and insecticides. The number 2 insecticide or pesticide is atrazine. Atrazine is an endocrine disruptor. It will increase estrogen in the body. Okay? For women, estrogen dominance looks like endometriosis and breast cancer. For men, it looks like man boobs. It looks like lowered testosterone. It looks like muscle wasting. It looks like body hair loss. You understand? There's a complete feminization of men today. And I'm saying from a hormonal standpoint. I'm not even talking about from a personality standpoint. I'm saying from a hormonal standpoint. Most men have elevated levels of estrogen in their body. And so they can't figure out why they can't get motivated. Testosterone is what makes you motivated to do things. Okay? They can't figure out why they can't grow muscles. Testosterone makes you grow muscle.
Okay.
Okay.
I don't want to mess up the phrase, but I think it's let food be thy medicine and medicine be thy food.
Indeed.
Right?
Yeah.
So if I'm a man, I'm in that situation, what are some steps? How do I go about reversing something like that?
Well, you got to change how you think about manly food, because we have this idea about what's manly food. So like when people see me eat, they're like, oh, you eating rabbit food.
Man.
Okay. But the food you eating is actually making you very unmanly, like biochemically unmanly.
You going real deep on it.
No, I'm just being honest.
Yeah.
Because even like, I'll give you for instance with that pesticide, atrazine. They did a study with frogs, and they gave the frogs this pesticide, atrazine. It converted the male frogs into female frogs.
Oh,
Okay.
Dr. Bobby.
Yeah. Just keep.
Hey.
Now
Dr. Bobby.
think if you're eating something like that, you're giving yourself daily doses of this 3 times a day, okay? Because typically when you go to get a prescription, you either have it daily, QD, you either have it twice daily, BID, or you have it 3 times daily. Okay, so you're giving yourself this dose of something that is adding estrogen to your body 3 times a day.
How do you feel about alcohol? Are you this rigid with that too?
I don't drink.
You don't drink.
Yeah,
Okay.
but and what I can say is this, because I know now it's like, damn, this dude don't have no fun.
Just sip on that.
I mean, it's maybe some people,
Yeah.
but like,
Yeah,
I don't see that to you with them Fendi boots on. I'm like, okay.
yeah, but
You enjoy something.
You enjoy something.
That's why he's not vegan.
but you know, like my thing is, it's like alcohol is a toxin. That's why when you drink it, they say you are
Intoxicated.
intoxicated. It ain't no way around it.
word.
You see what I'm saying? So it goes straight to the liver and straight into the blood.
What about smoking?
And then it comes straight out of the pores. That's why you can smell somebody sometimes when they have a lot of alcohol in their body, because it's so toxic to the body that it pushes it out of the pores.
That's a fact. What about smoking though? Is it the same type of?
Smoking is a level 1 carcinogen. Are you what type of smoking
Well,
are you
let's,
talking about?
He's an herbalist, so you're talking about
Okay, I
talk
got
about
you.
the herbs. Talk about the herbs.
Weed.
A lot of the weed people are smoking today is medical weed, and a lot of the medical weed is hybridized.
What does that mean?
Okay, it's not the natural thing that you think it is.
It's genetically modified.
It's just not natural.
It's not
And
natural.
what
You
I
got
mean
GMO
by that
weed?
is
GMO.
when you look at marijuana in its original form, like the original sativa and the indica, when you look at the concentration levels of the THC, it's like 0.08.
They're now over 30.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to tell you. It's not anything close to the natural form. Wow. And when you switch up any ratios like this, you got to understand, when you eat food, you're getting things in like divine ratios. Give you for instance, if you get enough magnesium and calcium, that balances your blood pressure. Magnesium causes you to relax. It's literally the chill pill mineral. Calcium causes you to contract. That's why if you get high blood pressure, they'll put you on a calcium channel blocker and makes your muscle contract. So what does that do with your blood? Relaxation, relaxes, contracts. That makes blood pump. Make sense? All right? So if you eat foods that are natural, it's going to have the right ratios of magnesium and calcium in it. So then your blood pressure will be balanced. You don't have to worry about I need to take magnesium over here supplement, and then I need to take calcium supplement over here. You can get it from the food in the right ratios. So when you think about marijuana, now you got marijuana in these ratios that never existed in nature. And now you're seeing a lot of people who will say, I smoked this weed, and then they ended up in the ER. You never heard of that?
Yeah.
Like people that?
Yeah.
I'm seeing it a lot now. People ended up in the ER because they had like a psychotic episode as a result of smoking weed. It's because the balances are nothing like it was in nature.
Yeah. How do you help people get through the mental roadblock of this? Right. I know you can tell people, because I'm listening to you talking about magnesium and calcium, and I'm just listening to the average person hears this stuff. They're gonna be like, yo, like, I don't know where to start. I'm confused. I don't want no part of it, right? But a lot of that just comes down with the mentality of thinking that you can't give something up or change the way you approach
Right.
nutrition. How do you help people get to that point, right? Is there any component of what you do? Do you ever attack someone's or help someone, figure out how they can attack him mentally.
Yeah. Man, that's the first step. You can't even go beyond that step until I can't even talk to you about the things that we talked about here. I wouldn't even start with that. I start with the mentality aspect because I got to get you in a mode of self-love first. Because our society has literally programmed us to not love and take care of ourselves the way we need to. You know, we do all this stuff for our cars. We change the brakes, the tires, the spark plugs, the wires. We clean it on the inside, the outside. We change the transmission fluid. What do we do like that for maintenance for our bodies? Name one thing.
Push-ups.
Push-ups. That's it. Gym. But that's one component of health. And the primary
And it's
component
exterior too.
Yeah. It's not even like the inside job.
It's not the real thing.
Yeah, I see people all the time look like perfect physical specimens
course.
who die.
Yeah.
A perfect physical specimen. So like the first thing you have to do, you have to get people to understand that we're living in a society today, like America's food, bar none, is banned in most other countries. The chicken is banned in other countries because it's cleansed with chloride, which is a carcinogen. Okay. The pork is banned in other countries because they feed pigs ractopamine. Okay, you can look that up too. There's so much of our food that is banned in other countries. It cannot even be sold in other countries. Cannot be sold in Europe. Cannot be sold in China. Cannot be sold in Japan. It's banned. So when you start to help people understand, if you eat the typical standard American diet, you're going to be sick. This is why 70% of the population is on a prescription drug and 75% is either overweight or obese. You're literally eating toxins, but you don't know it that way because you don't understand chemistry. So when you go to the supermarket and you're buying your food and you turn it on this label and you're looking at that label and half of it sounds like chemistry, you don't know what that is. You don't know what that's doing to you. So the mentality approach is to help them understand real recognizes real. Real food, your body is going to recognize it. It knows exactly what to do with it. But when you put an abomination, a man-made product that is called food in your body has to figure out what it is, what to do with it. And most of it ends up just sitting here because the body can't figure out what to do with it and it can't process it out. So this is why most people are constipated. So they end up having 10 to 25 pounds of undigested food, fecal matter just rotting in their gut.
So is it possible for someone to adopt a plant-based diet and not be able to lose weight?
Impossible. It's just it's impossible. If they're eating vegan junk food, because what happens is people will associate the idea of veganism with being plant-based. But if you're vegan, it doesn't mean that you're just eating plants. You could be eating a whole bunch of vegan junk food, which is processed food. Again, your body's not going to know it's not going to recognize it. It doesn't know how to break it down. It can't absorb it. It can't utilize it and it can't eliminate it. So it's just going to sit there and rot. But if you eat plants, your body knows exactly what to do with that. Real, recognize real.
So plants can't be processed.
Plants can be processed.
They can.
Yeah.
They can be.
Plants, fruits, vegetables, nuts, and seeds.
They can be processed.
No, they can't be processed in the sense of when you eat it in its natural form, it's not processed. When I go and get kale is kale. You know, when I go get an apple is an apple.
Well, then what's the difference between kale and organic kale?
Well, is whether or not it's sprayed with pesticides, herbicides, and insecticides.
So if it's sprayed, is it processed?
It's not processed, it's sprayed.
Okay.
So now you're
how do we know if it's
ingesting.
sprayed?
Huh?
How do we know?
Well, there's a few ways that you can do it. When you go into the store, all plants in the produce section will have a PLU code on it. If it has a 3 or a 4, it's conventionally grown. More than likely, it's been sprayed. If it has a 9 on it, it's organic.
And what does that signify though? Like what's the 9 signify?
The 9 signifies that it's organic, meaning it's supposed to not be sprayed with pesticides, herbicides, and insecticides. Okay. And now, what I will tell people is I will urge you to go to a farmer's market. Okay? Most of the time, farmers markets are a little bit more honest than a grocery store will be. Because you're going to have local farmers a lot of times coming to those farmers markets.
But farmers markets are not regulated, are they?
They're not, but what you get to do is have an actual conversation with the actual farmer.
Yep.
Okay.
That's the beautiful thing. Okay. So now you get to see where your food came from.
Okay.
You get to ask them questions. Can I come to your farm?
Right.
You see what I'm saying? Like if you want to take it to that level, and now you know I got a relationship with a farmer, I've gone to this farm. I can see and tell they don't use chemicals. All right, so now this is where I get my produce from.
Okay, so at the grocery store, the organic plants and the regular plants, right? And the pesticides are on the regular plants. Do I get those same side effects from eating like processed meats from the pesticides?
Well, so the number one pesticide is Roundup, glyphosate. You can look up all of the lawsuits that have occurred.
That's
with
like
that
the
one.
bug company?
Yes, the
Roundup?
same one they spray on your lawn. They're spraying your conventional produce with. Okay, so that's the number one. The number two is the one I mentioned before, is the atrazine, which is the endocrine disruptor, which raises the levels of estrogen in the body. Okay, so that's the effects of having pests. See, the pesticides and herbicides and insecticides are there to kill off pests. Insecticides, insects like caterpillars, and then the herbicides, which are what they call weeds. That's why they spray them.
Do they help the fruits last longer?
No,
They're not causing cancer either.
no. What you'll notice? Well, let me roll back on that question because that's a good one. What you'll notice is that a lot of things don't spoil anymore.
I've noticed that.
Have you noticed that?
It's actually scary to me.
Everything living has a process. It's supposed to die. When you get tomatoes, they should not last more than a week.
Straight up.
Okay? So when you're getting produce that lasts more than a week, that's not normal. That's a good sign that you should not be consuming that.
Okay, what about so this is so confusing to me. What about fruits like something that we know even growing up? I'm born in '88, so growing up, next door neighbor had a vineyard, right?
Yeah.
Pick grapes all the time.
Yeah.
Seeds all in the grapes.
Yeah.
I can't find a seed in a grape. Search high and dry.
Right.
Right. So I want to talk about that, and then also like just because we're on the topic of grapes, because I see a lot of people using grape seed oil, but I can't seem to find a seed in the grapes. I'm trying to kind of confuse as to where the oil is being produced.
Yeah, for sure.
So like I kind of want to talk about those kind of things. Like,
Yeah.
because I love grapes, but it's hard for me to even grab them now, knowing that there's supposed to be a seed in here. This is a really like sterile fruit that I'm putting in my body.
Yeah.
Like, what are the side effects of eating something like that on a regular basis?
Yeah, I always tell people, you gotta understand, like, even when you look at us as human beings, we come from a seed. The sperm is the seed. You understand? So what if we were to start making human beings without a seed? Okay? You gotta see what kind of abomination that's gonna become in life.
Yeah.
That's gonna happen too.
Yeah, I believe it.
You see what I'm saying? So like what you're seeing is every part of life is being man-made. And the reason why is because you can't patent nature. You can patent anything you make man-made.
It's business.
When you make it patent, now I can make money.
Yep.
Okay? When I have a seed, I can take that seed and put it in the ground, make a tree. I could take the seeds from the fruit, save them from next generation, and say, hey, when you go grow your land, I already have seeds for you. Seeds will last that long.
Wow.
You see what I'm saying? Seeds are infinite. They're divine. So when you remove the divinity out of the food, you got to understand what you've done there. You've changed everything in the food. You see what I'm saying? So like you got to understand, like, the more and more you see like seeds missing from things, like bananas have seeds in them. I have a picture of a banana fully seeded.
Seeds. Yeah.
Pineapples.
I've had 'em.
Pineapples have seeds in them. You didn't know that, did you?
I didn't know that.
Then you never see them anymore. Okay, I ain't even talked about watermelon and other things like that, but so many things supposed to have seeds, but you never see seeds in them anymore. So pretty much at some point, all food is got to be man-made, which means that when you control the food, you control the people.
So
Facts.
So it's probably wise for us as a people to acquire some type of land where you could begin to produce your own fruits, veggies.
If you can't acquire land, because I want to make it applicable to anybody,
Yep.
you can grow a herb garden in your kitchen.
Yep.
You can have a vertical garden right here. You see what I'm saying? You can have, like some boxes of tomatoes growing
But
here.
how much produce can that really produce? Can that really sustain a family? Is that enough? Is that enough to keep us from going to the store and buying things with pesticides, herbicides, and all these things?
It will. Let's say if I lived in a building and I got 10 other people to commit to it, I grow all the tomatoes, you grow all the lettuces, you grow all the community. You feel me?
Yep.
You got to understand, we come from a people of Ubuntu. It's about the community. It's not about individual. You try to do anything individually, you're going to fail. But if you do it collectively, now it becomes very easy. But that's where we come from. We come from a place where it was all about, I didn't need to do it on my own. But now we're trying to do everything on our own. We'll become individuals instead of a community now. Communities no longer exist. Do you know your neighbors?
I do.
You know, most people don't know their neighbors.
Most people definitely don't know their neighbors.
You see what I'm saying? There's no community anymore. Even when you lived in a community where everybody wasn't black, you still knew who your people were. Across the street, next door, behind you, under you, you knew where everybody was in your community. You don't know who people are anymore. We're individuals now. And they always tell you when people are like this, individual, you divide and conquer. But when they like this, you're powerful.
So what's your what's your end goal? Like what is the goal for you? Are you someone who has a goal of living to 110? You know what I mean? Like
No. I'm not gonna live that long. I want to know.
Yeah, I have. All this way of life, right? What do you want to come from it?
Man, this is me trying to be the highest version of myself, which is the most divine version of myself. And you have to understand that this body is just a vehicle for a human experience as a spiritual being. But you can't have that full experience as a spiritual being if the body is tampered with, if you're not cleaning up your temple. And so I want to hear the things that I'm supposed to hear and see the things that I'm supposed to see. You understand? I want to speak the words that I'm supposed to speak. I want to think the thoughts that I'm supposed to think. But I can't do that when my body's riddled with inflammation. I can't do that when I can't see out of my eyes. I can't do that when my pineal gland is calcified. I have to be in my healthiest state to be able to have this human experience so I can live in my purpose the way that God wants me to.
So how do I begin to heal? How does one begin to heal? I'm embarking on my own journey and experimenting with herbs and different plants that help healing the body, you know, but like how does one begin to go about removing calcification from the body or removing, waste from my intestines and colon? Like how do I, outside of like eating, are there other things that I could incorporate into my regimen that will help cleanse and purify my body?
Fall in love with yourself. That's the most important thing because that's what's going to sustain the journey. If you don't love yourself enough to sustain the journey, you're going to take a couple of steps and turn back. That's why most people, when they're in a dire situation and you tell them they need to eat healthy or start doing this and that, they say, well, I got to die of something. You see what I'm saying? They're not in love with themselves. And we've been taught that being in love with yourself is a very selfish thing. But that's why we can't do proper self-care, because self-care is self-love. So that's the first and most important thing. The next thing you got to remember is if you read Genesis 1:29, it tells you what the food is. Now, people love to go in the middle of the Bible and look at during the times of famine and look at Leviticus and see all this stuff that is okay to eat during a time of famine when the people were disobedient. But if you look at when God put people in the garden, and you don't have to be religious to believe this, you just got to know this is a very old book. So some ancestral people understood these principles as such. The original people who were in a garden, okay, what grows in a garden? And then if you read Genesis 1:29, it tells you what the food is. I have given you every fruit-bearing seed to have as food, okay? And then if you go in the back of the Bible, Revelations, the last book, you read Revelations 22:2, it says, I have given you every leaf to be used to heal the nations. So the leaves are to be used to heal the nation. What are the leaves? The herbs. Okay? So you told you what the food was.
Plants and fruits.
When our people were obedient, not in a famine, not killing each other. Okay, he told you what the food was. And then Revelations is about now you have been disobedient and you've caused all this dis-ease in your body. I'm going to tell you what's going to heal you. It's up to you to take that choice. So that's why I do my detox. That's why my detox is all herbal. Because herbs do that. They pull heavy metals out the body. Okay? Herbs do that. They pull mucus out of the body. Okay? They get waste out of the body. All right? I'll tell people all the time, herbs don't actually heal. What they do is they return you back to your divinity. Our bodies are designed to heal and regenerate themselves. If we were in our pristine state, like healthy state, every 9 months we would get a totally new liver. Every 120 days, we get a totally new blood supply. I can go on and on. Our bodies regenerate themselves. Mm-hmm. But if your body is riddled with toxicity and you have a lot of deficiency, it cannot do it.
What if somebody said, when it comes to the food, biblically, everything in moderation?
Okay, moderation kills. We see that. The best example is somebody with a drug addiction. Okay, you're going to tell somebody who's addicted to crack cocaine that they can have a little bit every here and there. You think that they're going to ever get off of that food. And people, when you tell people to stop trying to eat that food, you can see it's addiction.
Yeah, people think they're more disciplined than they are.
Yeah, as soon as you tell them to stop and they cannot do it, that tells you that it's addiction.
It's an addiction.
You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So you can't do moderation within something that is an addiction. You never feel addicted to fruits. Nobody wake up out of their sleep like, damn, let me get some fruit.
Damn, low-key I do though.
Okay. You see what I'm saying? But if no people wake up out of their sleep saying,
you could crave it.
Damn, I want some ice cream.
Me.
You see what I'm saying? People are like, man, let me get some of them chips.
Yeah, me too.
You see what I'm saying?
And
that's what be calling.
As you pushing those bad things out of your body begin to crave it even more.
Yeah, there's a period. It's just like everything. When you see somebody in the movies and they're going from, all right, I'm going to stop this drug habit.
Withdrawals.
The withdrawal symptoms come. They're supposed to come. That is a natural part of healing. They're supposed to come. And when they come, most people try to alleviate those symptoms by taking something. And what they're doing is stopping the process. So when you got mucus coming out of the body, that's part of the process. Mm-hmm. Getting mucus out of the body. When you're sneezing, you feel like you have flu-like symptoms. You're like, damn, something's wrong with me. I need to go to the doctor and get a whatever. A Z-Pack. Mm-hmm. All right? That Z-Pack stops everything. It stops the healing process. Now the mucus doesn't come out. Now the fever goes away. When your body raises its temperature, guess what? Certain bacteria and viruses can't survive in higher temperatures. That's why you have a fever. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So the fever is actually protecting you.
It's actually protecting you. Now, if it gets past a certain point, then it becomes dangerous. Now you need to possibly take an ice bath or whatever it may be. But it doesn't necessarily mean that you need to take Tylenol. You see what I'm saying? But it's just really important to know a lot of what I call healing symptoms, or they also call it a healing crisis that people go through. And the symptoms that they experience, that's part of the healing process. But people want to turn off those symptoms.
Wow. Fellas.
Man, everything I need.
Fellas, how we feeling?
Honestly,
enlightened.
We ready to detox?
Yes.
Nah, for real. I think you guys should follow up with us. We'll do a detox. Honestly, Dr. Bobby, this is no offense to anybody who's ever been on the show. You were the most intelligent man that has ever graced the couch, man. No, seriously, like, again, I gotta go back and I gotta watch the episode. I gotta have a notepad. I gotta have my family with me. Just learn so much. A lot of the questions that I asked were just for me personally.
Yeah,
and being able to start the journey on cause I love myself a lot. And like, I feel like I'm not doing the part that I need to do. Yeah. And so you said fruits, vegetables,
nuts,
seeds.
Yeah.
We can live off of that.
Yeah, I live off that.
So with the seeds though,
I live off of that.
Are the seeds something I can get in a package?
Yeah, so I put hemp seeds in my smoothies. Mm-hmm. You know, sesame seeds are very high in calcium. Yeah. I also do tahini. Tahini is just.
Is there any benefit to pumpkin seeds?
Pumpkin seeds.
High in protein.
Yeah.
High in protein?
Yeah, they're high in protein. They're also really good for libido for men.
Sex drive. Come on now.
Okay. You know.
All right, now when I start seeing
y'all
pumpkin seeds,
when
I start seeing pumpkin seeds all over your house now.
Y'all boys down? What's up?
You know what I'm saying?
Y'all boys
do it.
No,
Let's
I'm
do
with
it.
it. I'm with
What's
it.
up, man?
Especially with the next generation.
Let's do it.
You know, having children and everything like
Yeah.
that. You know, being able to direct them into the right way to eat. Because like, I thought it was good that I didn't eat hot dogs no more. You just brought a whole nother level. Like, I grew up, my dad was making hot dogs, bro.
Yeah,
I'm like,
for
he's
sure.
wild for that. Now, you know, you learn so much information is coming out. There's no excuse for us to not be the most healthy version of ourselves.
And you got to remember, like, we not only give our kids our genetics,
Practice habits.
well, we give them our habits. That's the first thing we give them out of the womb, our habits. We give them our habits also in the womb too, with what we eat. Wow. You're telling them what to eat. You're nourishing them in the womb. So it's so important we know those two things, but also understand this. Genes are like light switches. They can be turned on and off. You eat the wrong kind of foods, you're going to turn on genes that are for cancer. You eat the right kind of foods, you're going to turn the genes that suppress cancer, tumor suppressor genes. So they're light switches. They're not a predestined, sort of idea that we have around genes. So we got to think about health in terms of like generational health. Like, what am I giving this next generation? Am I helping them to prevent diabetes and a possible stroke, or am I contributing to it?
So ask yourself, Duke, you eating all that meat, bruh?
Pause.
Big pause. Dr. Bobby, man, hey, thank you so much for being with us, man, and just having a conversation.
Yeah, bro.
And just having a dialogue, man. It was very insightful conversation. Sometimes we don't really have these experts like you to talk to every day, right? So sometimes we just get into like the cycle of just eating what we eat, living how we live, and then sometimes guys like you come in and remind us, okay, well, there's a better way, right? And O's our best friend, but it's just he our best friend.
Yeah.
His
opinion don't count.
So it's like, like he been trying to get us to do this.
A prophet can never be a prophet amongst his own.
Like,
I
told y'all. I've been telling y'all.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, thank you for just rocking with us, man. Y'all good?
I'm good, bro. Appreciate you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Love, man.
Look, man, if you guys are listening and watching right now, go ahead and drop a comment. Let us know what you thought about.
I'm so sorry. Where can we get your recipe cookbook?
Okay, yeah, just go to drbobbyprice.com. The dope thing about the cookbook is not only does it have like our traditional recipes that we have as African Americans in there, but I also put a lot of West African recipes in there as well too. So jollof.
Oh, hello. Jollof. Come on, now you talking your language.
Nigerian okra stew.
Talking your language now.
Fufu. I stay away from fufu.
Just put a lot of West Africa, because a lot of African Americans, our heritage is West Africa. And so I think it's important that we start incorporating some of our heritage into the holidays that we have here in America.
Man, that's another conversation for another day right there.
Yeah.
All right. But listen, man, if you're watching this or listening right now, go ahead and drop a comment. Let us know what you thought. Leave some feedback. Make sure you're subscribed to us on all channels. Make sure you're following us on all social platforms. Yeah, man, appreciate you for rocking with us, man. Much love, much gratitude. I'm Duke.
I'm Omar.
I'm Jelon.
I'm Dr. Bobby.
And this is another episode of Nice and Neat, and that's that. On that. Peace.
Yes, sir.
I'll be the one to never sit and go and make a plan. Knowing my mother getting old and I don't got no time. Gotta keep a couple for the road, the rest get left behind. Yeah. To the hundreds, pledge allegiance, I stand.